You see, guys, so welcome back to my nice and beautiful program. So, what I want to talk about today is just life because I'm a life coach. I apologize, I just had something to drink. And what I want to help you with is just your life. I want to look at your life from a purpose perspective where I want you to find a purpose. I want you to find something to do that's going to help your life. So, this is what this program is for. And what I want to help to really be enthusiastic about is really show you the way. I want to show you the way of where I'm going in my life so that you can follow my footsteps, because you have to understand I follow Jesus Christ, for example. And because I follow Jesus Christ, I have certain methods and programs in my life that I oblige to. And now I follow the drug-free road as much as possible. I try to be sober because when I drink alcohol, for example, I feel like shit. I mean, don't you ever feel like shit when you drink alcohol or smoke cigarettes consciously? You have to understand that people who do drugs are low lives, okay? And why is that? Because they're killing themselves, they're killing the environment, okay? And plus, they get very lazy. I mean, these people get very lazy, and that's why you see, for example, homeless people on the street. I mean, why do you see homeless people on the street? Because they're either doing drugs, or they don't want to work the 9 to 5 job, or it's because their money is not going in the best places. So, what you need to realize is you must never go the homeless way, okay? You must understand that if it's required of you by the universe to work that 9 to 5 job because you're providing for your family or because you have kids and you need more money, then it's understandable to do so. I promise you, it's understandable for people like, in terms of people who want to work that 9 to 5 job and get up early for work and stay all day at work and stuff. I understand that. I understand that it's much more how they have obligations to make money so that they can provide for their kids. I promise you that's responsible, you understand? But when there's people who are, let's say, on social security and they got nothing to do all day, okay, these people got maybe not, apparently they probably have something to do, but most of the time they're doing nothing. Apparently they're either watching TV all day or they're social media browsing on social media all day long, or maybe talking with family members all day long, and they're not working. And plus they don't have such a purpose such as I do, where I provide a lot of information to people basing it on my life and my experiences. I apologize. So what I get to know around life and what I do every single day, what I get to do every single day of my life is I get to do my passions 24/7. And because I get to do my passions, I realize that some people have to have the time necessary for themselves to be able to self-reflect upon their life. And when you self-reflect upon your life, what happens is you go a certain direction. And in this certain direction, you are able to manifest, you are able to dream, you are able to imaginate. So why is this important? I realize now imagination is key to everything. I promise you, those people who imaginate life are the ones who can manifest their dreams. And now, if you're someone who loves knowledge, okay, if you dig into books and you dig into knowledge and you just want to know about life, I promise you that's really credential, and it's really sophisticated, to be honest. Because people who love knowledge and people who go certain directions in knowledge are able to find their way, because knowledge is the guiding compass. And those people who read books every day, okay, I promise you the more they read, the better they get. And now you have to understand that, myself included, for example, when I do more music or when I write more things down, okay, or when I express myself more, to be honest, what happens is I create a vibration in the universe. And because I create this vibration, I promise you it makes a difference. And now what kind of difference does it make? I promise you it makes different individuals in different circumstances of life it makes a difference in their life in some way. So the reason I have so much passion now is because you have to understand something. That when I was younger, I was watching a lot of pornography. I was also having sex with women and stuff, and I was also masturbating a lot. You understand? Because I was a teenager and even my early 20s and stuff like that. And you have to realize that it wasn't the way. And I found myself doing much better in life just by staying away from women and just by stopping the masturbation and also stopping the pornography. Okay, because pornography is like junk food for the mind. I promise you, it does nothing for you. I promise you, it does open a channel where you can imagine it and fantasize and stuff like that. But since I've been doing, let's say, no masturbation in my life, you have to understand that now when I look at a woman, I don't have this urge to fuck her. You understand? I don't have this certain urge where I want to just get into her vagina. You understand? Because that was me before. I was such an ugly guy. You understand? I was such an ugly guy where I was only thinking of women as objects and I was only thinking of them in a way to get into their vagina. You understand? So my personality has changed. And the reason I was like that was because the people around me were like that. You understand? And the people who I was surrounding myself with were looking at women as objects. And all they wanted to do was fuck women and that's it. So for example, a guy would call me or people would call me and say, do you have any girls to fuck today? Or do you have any girls that I can fuck today? And like, it was such a fucking immature conversation I was having with people. And now since that time, I realized I went on a journey of no masturbation, for example. And because I do no masturbation now, you have to understand that when I look at a woman, okay, I no longer have to think about having sex with her. But what I do imagine right now and what I do fantasize about is when I look at a woman and she may be beautiful or even ugly. I mean, you have to understand everyone's beautiful, you understand? But there are certain women that look better than others. You understand? So you have to realize that in my life, what I realized is now when I look at a woman, I start to dream. I start to dream what it would be like to be with that woman, for example. Not just in sex, but also just to see more of her skin, for example, just to talk with her, just to maybe have her sit on my lap and hug me, for example, or even kiss me. You understand? That's all I think about. But I have this certain imagination about women now that I never had before. I promise you, I did have it when I was a child. You understand? I had always this fantasy of women when I was a child, and I was always thinking like these women are the most beautiful women to be around and stuff like that. And now this is like me coming back to a child now and thinking, hey, it's such a wonderful thing to be around women. You understand? Not to have sex with them, but to just be around in their presence, to get to know them, to get to be their partner, or to be someone who's just fascinated about women. You understand? And I have much more dreams. I have much more of a vivid personality. You understand? Because now, since I don't toss off to a woman anymore, you understand? Or in other words, I don't masturbate to women anymore, nor do I masturbate to men. And you have to realize that now, since my life is actually improving, I fantasize about women more. Yes, and I fantasize them. I fantasize about them in my imagination, but I don't act out. I don't masturbate to my imagination. You understand? So in my daily life, I may look at a woman and I'll be like, for example, today I seen this woman at Toastmasters, and I was like, wow, I can just imagine. Like I can imagine the love that she can give. You understand? And now she's not the best looking woman. You understand? She's got some. I mean, she's a bit overweight. I mean, you have to understand. I don't want to mention much about her, but I started fantasizing about her, and I was like, wow, I can imagine being in bed with her and just being for example, in love with her, and not just to have sex, but to have passion for her and stuff. So in a way, my passion is growing. You understand? My passion is growing in a way that I don't objectify women anymore. And also I get to the point where I have much more passion and fantasy in my daily life. And this is not happening in my dreams. This is not happening in my dreams while I sleep. You understand? Apparently, it's happening in daily life where I'm much more observant of who I want to be with, and I'm much more reactive to the type of woman that can handle me at the moment. So what I mean is, I'm much more able to see exactly where my direction is going in this kind of direction where I don't have to masturbate anymore. In a sense, so because I'm becoming much more stronger now, I'm also talking better, I'm also feeling benefits, and I'm having much more drive. So you have to understand Napoleon Hill. So Napoleon Hill talks about in his book Think and Grow Rich. I promise you, if you haven't read this book, go and read it, because Napoleon Hill will talk about one chapter in the book, and he will say how people seldom succeed. He will say people seldom succeed before the age of 40. And what does that mean? It means that before the age of 40, people such as men and women are fucking around too much. You understand? They're wasting their energy on having sex with people, and they're not productive in these times. You understand? So what does this mean? Apparently, it means that people are losing energy. Apparently, so you have to understand that for the male, that means that when you are with a woman, okay, when you always chase women, okay, or when a woman chases a man, okay, they're wasting time on these people. And you have to understand that they may invest the whole freaking night having sex instead of helping other people. And it's selfish, you understand? So these people are selfish. I promise you, they want scraps of pleasure, you understand? They want to go out there and have orgies and have sex with beautiful women and beautiful men, and they just want to fuck. And that's all they think about, you understand? I promise you, all they think about is hanging around. I promise you, all they think about is hanging around with guys and girls. You understand? To have sex. You understand? And that's a destructive habit. And Napoleon Hill talks about this, and he says that a man or a woman who can get away from that, okay, get away from chasing other men and chasing other women, for example, you have to understand that once they get away from chasing men and women, that they have much more productive time to help other people. And once they get away from having sex with other people, okay, they're not so much wasting any more of that energy, okay, they're not wasting any more of that energy that they could be putting into reading or into their personal growth or into their self-education, okay, or even into their family members or even into themselves as self-love, okay. So you have to understand that the biggest driving force in the universe is your ability to love yourself. You understand? So the more you love yourself, the more you vibrate. You just vibrate fluency. You vibrate everything. You vibrate this high frequency, and people can see that you're looking good, you're feeling good, and also they can see that you're feeling good, and they can see that something is working out for you. You understand? So when people look at me online, okay, they see something that they can see something in me. Apparently, they can see I want to help people. Apparently, they can see I have a purpose. Apparently, they can see I define my purpose. Okay. Apparently, I also told them exactly what I do for my business and what my business is. And then they can see me staying consistent about what I do. You understand? So some people ask me, Danny, why do you do so much content but nobody watches you? I promise you. So that's been the case of my life right now. I've been on YouTube. I've been having a YouTube channel now for 2 years. And you have to understand that the biggest mistake I made on YouTube was setting my YouTube account to made for kids. And I made every single video made for kids. But I didn't understand what the question was. I didn't understand the statement. I didn't understand that information. So what I done was I changed it back to not made for kids. I changed all my videos to not made for kids, because when your videos are set to made for kids, what happens is anybody who's under 13 years of age can see your videos. But anyone who's over 13 years of age cannot see your videos. So for 2 years, I was making content and I wasn't getting any views. I wasn't getting any comments. I wasn't getting much likes, for example. And now, since I set everything up again in a better way, where I put it's not made for kids, in terms of all my videos are not made for kids now, I have more exposure. For example, I promise you more people can search me up. I promise you more people can get into my YouTube account now. And also, I just didn't understand that question. I thought, yeah, like my content is child friendly. I promise you a child can watch it. So I said made for kids. So I said it's made for kids. I thought that made for kids, or setting the function to made for kids, would be to include kids as well as people who are over 18. You understand? But the fact is that they made it, if you set your YouTube videos to made for kids, that only people who are 13 years and younger can watch your videos. And that's why I didn't have a lot of people watching my content. You understand? So now, since people can still, even now, they can actually watch my content, I promise you they can comment on my content now, and much more people can see my content online. I understand what I done was, I went into YouTube, for example. Okay, I went into YouTube and I started changing 30 videos at a time. I got on my laptop, and this you can only do on your laptop. And you go on your laptop, you go into YouTube, you go into YouTube Studio, you go into settings, and then you set all your videos not made for kids. And then what you do is, through every 30 videos, you make sure you highlight 30 videos, and then you change the setting to not made for kids. Okay, so once you set everything to not made for kids, what happens is it starts to finalize and it starts to process your 30 videos. And then what happens is you'll find that in your YouTube Studio, on your application in your phone, everything will update very fast. And you have to do this manually for every single video. You have to make sure that you change all your videos manually. If you have any videos up online on YouTube now, in terms of all your videos are set to made for kids, or some videos of yours are set to made for kids, make sure that you start changing all your videos to not made for kids, unless it's actually made for kids. Okay, so you have to realize that they done this because of pedophiles and stuff like that, who were commenting on children's profiles and stuff like that. So you have to realize that I started changing 30 videos at a time. You understand? I started changing 30 videos at a time, and at this stage I had 1,890 videos that I had to change. I had to change them manually. I had to change all those videos manually to not made for kids. You understand? So this is going to help you in the future. You understand? So you have to realize that the reason I have a YouTube channel is to serve others. Okay, that's my purpose. But what my Instagram says right now is, you can see on my Instagram, it says, for example, life coach and music producer. I show people how to brand themselves. Look at me, I'm not perfect. I hope this page helps in some way. You know, so the thing is that why I said that is because in some photos of myself, I look overweight. Okay, I look overweight. And also I show flaws. I show a lot of flaws in my photos of myself, you understand? But those flaws, when you see all my photos, you understand what I mean by my flaws, and you understand what I mean about my beauty as well. You understand? Because I am beautiful, you understand, and everyone's beautiful. And you have to understand that you have to state that yourself. You have to say, I am beautiful, you understand, regardless of what other people think, you understand? So what I'm saying now is when you're going through life helping other people, okay, you have to realize that everyone has a purpose for something. I mean, some people like to take care of the kids. I promise you other people like to provide for their family. I promise you other people like to be alone. I promise you other people like to provide content for other people. I promise you there's so many ranges of people out there, and you have to get to know these people. You have to start really, really introducing something about yourself, and you have to start with your story. You know what I'm saying? You have to start with the person you are. So now what I do is I make little bits of content, for example, and I post it up on social media. And now I'm not looking to become famous, but I'm looking to help enough people. Yes, I'm looking to help enough people every single day so that I can treasure myself more and so that I can make a difference. You understand? So that's how I roll. I'm pretty sure that's how I go about life. But the thing is that you have to realize that when we go back to Napoleon Hill, okay, you have to understand that people seldom succeed before the age of 40, which means that people are losing time. I promise you, people are losing energy, okay? And because they're losing time and energy, I promise you what this means is they're chasing sex. I promise you they're chasing women. I promise you they're going nightclubs just chasing other people. So what you need to do is you need to do the exact opposite. You understand? And this means that eventually what happens once you stop masturbating and once you stop chasing other people and once you stop having sex with other people, you get to spend and invest more of your life into better ways. Okay, and then you get to actually grow yourself as a person the way you must be and the way you also, in terms of how nature intended itself to be, in terms of how nature intended you to be. You understand? So there's a nature law out there, and you have to understand that it's called the universal laws. Okay, so what you do to others, you do unto yourself. You understand? But you have to realize you can go and read about the universal laws and stuff. But you have to realize now that from the period of 40 to 60, they say that those are your most productive years of your life. You understand? I'm just 30 years of age. I'm 2 years on YouTube. I just started posting music to Spotify at 30 years of age. So I released my first album on Spotify when I was 30 years of age. You understand? That's how late I started producing, in terms of not producing, but how late I made my first album. And now I made my first album in 2016, but it sounds really shit. I promise you, it doesn't sound good. So I didn't put it on Spotify. You understand? So the thing is that in my career, in terms of music production, I made over 215 tracks before I produced my first album. You understand? So that's 215 days in the past, let's say, 4 years. So 215 days from 4 years of time, I was producing music. And some of those days, in terms of in between that, I didn't even get to finish a track because I was so much feeling like a failure. Okay, I was feeling like a failure, like when's my day gonna come when I produce good music, you understand? So I kept on trying, and finally now in my stage of life, I'm finally able to make techno music. I'm finally able to really shape my sound. I'm able to shape the sound I want. I'm able to EQ the sound that I want in terms of equalize my sound. I'm able to mix my sound the way I like it, and I'm able to master it the way I want it. You understand? So what I see now is I've got a lot to learn, of course, but my music is such at a place of time right now that it's so much better than before. And my career, in terms of when I look at my music and when I look at the person I am today, I see I have so much potential moving forward into the next 30 years of my life. And why is that? Because now, since I'm not masturbating anymore, I am also producing music at my best now. Okay, I'm at my best. I'm actually now able to produce something that's actually quality, okay? And I'm also able to get around the software in terms of my music production software. I'm able to do stuff inside of it that I was not able to do before. And also with my life coaching career now, I'm setting everything to not made for kids on YouTube. And now I'm also doing audio spectrums for all my videos. Okay. And I am able to just help myself to really escalate. I'm able to escalate now much more than ever my life. You understand? I'm able to escalate my life in a better way. And my life coaching is now at the peak. You understand? So my life coaching has always been at the peak because it's always at the nice and beautiful way of life where you talk and you express yourself. And you have to realize that when I was, in terms of 5 years ago, when I started life coaching 5 years ago, you have to understand that when we go back in time, I started music production first. I didn't start life coaching first. And between the years of 2014 to 2016, I was doing music production in my room. I had one of those desktops in terms of Windows. I had a Windows PC. I had a computer. I had a hard drive in terms of those large hard drives. And I had a computer screen. I had a printer. I had all that stuff. I had a desktop. I had a desk for my computer and everything. And I had speakers and I was producing music in this room and I was like, wow, I like the sounds, I like everything that I'm doing, but something in my album was not quite getting there. You understand? And then I realized I don't even want to do music anymore because it's just too much work. You understand? So I quit music production from 2016 to 2020. For 4 years of my life, I was not doing music production. I totally gave up. I totally gave up on my music career. And then somehow, somewhere down the line in 2020, I was in Townsville, Australia. And I said to myself, let me download FL Studio and let me just try to make something and let's see how it works. And then I made something and I thought this is big. I mean, this track is big. So I sent it to record labels and everything and I started getting rejected. I was rejected by them and everything. And then I started making more music and I went to actually Cairns. I went to Cairns. I said, from now on, I'm a life coach and a music producer. And this was in 2020 actually. And then I just began my journey in music production. You understand? So the thing is that now, since I've been doing music production from 2014 to 2016, that's 2 years. And now it's 2022. But I started music production again in 2020. So this is my 4th year. So from 2020 to 2022 is 2 years. You understand? So 2014 to 2016 is 2 years. 2020 to 2022 is 2 years. So that's 4 years of music production. And I released my first album. You understand? After 4 years of music production, I released my first album at 30 years of age. So I can say that in life I have no regrets because when I quit music production, I started life coaching. You understand? I started to life coach in between that time. And then suddenly I didn't life coach for about a year. You understand? I didn't life coach and all I was doing is I was just reading. I was just reading. But do you know how afraid I was to read at first? When I started buying books, I was like, oh, $13 is going to go to somebody else. You understand? I was thinking like that. I wasn't thinking about the quality of the material that I would get from that. You understand? I didn't think that, hey, if I invest $13, I will get so much information about how to improve my life. But then slowly I was like, okay, I'll just give $13 and I'll just see how it feels. I'll just keep reading, because the more I read, the better. But I wasn't thinking like that. I was thinking, let me just hear something out. But I was just saying to myself, let me hear more books and stuff like that, and maybe it helps me. So you have to realize that when I went to a music school, I went to Australian Institute of Music over there in Surrey Hills in Sydney, Australia. And you have to understand that they taught me little about things around music. You understand? They taught me a lot about theory, but not so much the doing part. You understand? They didn't teach me the doing part of the music production. I promise you, the most they taught me in terms of the doing part of the music production, in terms of software, FL Studio type things. I promise you, they taught me lower the volume and increase volume. In terms of at the beginning of the track, make sure it starts off slow, and then at the end of the track, volume out. I promise you, and in between the music tracks, make sure you volume in and volume out on certain instruments. I promise you, that's all they taught me, and I gave $13,000 for that. You understand? So that was a complete waste of my time in terms of music production. But what I gained from, I realized I can say, what I gained from Australian Institute of Music is the experience of college. You know, the experience of getting to know people and getting around people, and also just that time and space where I was going to college. I was somebody who was around people. For example, I was experiencing that college kind of thing, so I paid for that. You understand? But you have to realize that these colleges don't do much for you. The most you can get from music production in terms of college is just a degree, okay? And then with that degree, you have to make a studio for yourself. You have to start renting out a studio out in your country somewhere, for example, and then you have to make sure that you market yourself to people on radio or television by paying for that. You have to pay for that. You have to pay for advertisement. And then you have to hope, you have to hope that somebody has money to give you to make a track for them. You understand? So that's a far notch. The thing is that really happens these days. So it's not worth to go college. It's not worth it to go college. So, for example, what I'll teach my kids, for example, is I'll teach them, for example, if they want to go to university, I'll first teach them something about self-education. I'll teach them that it's much more important to have self-education in your life than it is to go to university, because life is a university. You understand? So when you teach yourself self-education every single day, and when you're actually growing in self-education, okay, you can go anywhere. You can do whatever you want. You understand? Because that's the power of knowledge. So the best thing I'll teach my kids in life is seek knowledge and you shall find. You understand? You always find what you're looking for in knowledge. You understand? So knowledge breeds experience. So you have to understand that what people look for at the 9-to-5 jobs and all these places, in terms of people who hire you and people who want you to work for them, and also what people seek out from an individual is wisdom. You understand? So everyone's got their own wisdom, but the more wisdom you have, it's simple. I promise you, you have to understand, the more wisdom you have, the more success you have. You understand? And you have to understand that. I promise you, the library is for free. I promise you, those people who go to the library every single day to read, you understand? I promise you, instead of watching TV, I promise you, go to the library or stay at home and just read every single day, and just start teaching what you read. I promise you, start making a YouTube channel. Start posting on social media. Just start something around knowledge. And so music production is knowledge. And then you have to get to know the software. You have to produce content. I promise you, then you give people an experience about music. I promise you, then people follow you because they like your music. I promise you, then you make events around people because now you have the knowledge to do so. And now you have to realize, because you have the knowledge to do so, now you can actually fly the world, because you got all the income coming from your music or your life coaching or whatever it is, but you're making events around people now and you're actually teaching, and that's the main thing. You understand? I promise you, the main thing is that you're happy. I mean, you have to be a happy person every single day of your life. You understand? But that's what everyone wants to achieve. I promise you, the thing is that everyone's got happiness to some degree. You understand? But there's a quote saying that, and there's a quote going around saying that those people who are the most saddest in life are the happiest. And those who I promise you, you have to realize that it's true. You understand? You have to realize that being sad sometimes can also lead to happiness. You understand? Because you actually get to know sometimes in life that you have enough as it is. I realize, for example, Grant Cardone, Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, for example, they have more than me. I promise you, they have more than me in terms of, let's say, wisdom. I promise you, and they have more than me in terms of money. You understand? I promise you, they have more than me in terms of other things. But the thing is that I can say I have enough. I have enough wisdom. I have enough of life. I have enough happiness. I have enough of everything that I need. You understand? But you have to realize that the more you have enough, you have to realize that the more self-fulfilling you are, the more you actually have much more empathy toward yourself, because you actually understand that you're self-sufficient now and you have everything you need. You understand? So you have to realize that when you compare to other people, you always find someone who has less than you, and you always find someone who has more than you. You understand? But the thing is that you're always somewhere in the middle. I promise you, no matter who it is, I promise you, Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, I promise you, there's somewhere in the middle. I promise you, there's somewhere in the middle, because there's someone who has more kids than them. I promise you, there's someone who has more muscles than them. I promise you, there's someone who has more money than them and more health than them. I promise you, there's other people who have lived more than them. I promise you, they're always somewhere in the middle. You understand? I promise you, if you want to live life, you live life somewhere in the middle. You understand? Because that's how it is. But make sure you compare yourself to yourself every single day. And the more you compare yourself to yourself, the better you are. You understand? So every single day, try to actually grow yourself no matter what. I mean, try to every single day be enthusiastic about your life and try to do the most you can every single day. And then you'll be fulfilled in your words, and you'll be fulfilled in everything you're doing. Yes, and so that's the key factor if you want to make a difference in life, and you just have to stick to it. You have to stick to your ability to be able to help people. You understand? The more you help people, I promise you, you never know where you can go. You understand? But the thing is that you're making a difference, and people see that you're making a difference in life. You understand? So that's what I would really help you to understand, is that if you really want to help to soothe your life, and if you really want to find that niche, you understand? Do you know what a niche is? I understand. Do you know what a niche is? A niche is a certain brand or business that you have. So what is your business? I mean, what is your niche? I mean, you have to understand that my niche is Danny Milivojevic. And you might have been taught this in school, for example, where you might have heard it. You might have heard this in school. Create your niche. I mean, look at Nike. Nike is a niche. About what? It's about athletics and providing sponsorship to athletes and to sports programs out there around clothing and around certain possessions like material in terms of soccer balls and basketballs and everything got to do with Nike, for example, has got to do with the sports industry. You understand? That's a niche. And it's fashion as well. You understand? So, for example, you look at Adidas. I mean, Adidas is the same thing as Nike, but just a different brand. I want you to look at Louis Vuitton, for example. I mean, Louis Vuitton is a perfume brand. You understand? So they've got everything to do with makeup and beauty and stuff. You understand? So, and cosmetics and everything. So you have to realize that no matter what, you have to understand that if you want to do better, you have to understand that you have to create some kind of niche in your life. You have to create a niche. So my niche is Danny Milivojevic. So my business is all about Danny Milivojevic. You understand? So that's my name. But you have to realize that because I go by Danny Milivojevic in life, I make sure to post videos about Danny Milivojevic. I make sure to post music about Danny Milivojevic. I make sure to promote life coaching that Danny Milivojevic does. I base my business on my life. You understand? So that's my niche. So you have to understand that, for example, if I said on Instagram, I help people to find their niche. I promise you, people won't understand what that is. You understand? They won't understand what niche is. I promise you, the thing is that I show people how to brand themselves. You know, promise you, now they understand exactly what my niche is. You understand? Because I show people how to brand themselves. So if you look at my YouTube account, you realize that I do YouTube very differently to other people. So for example, Evan Carmichael, I promise you, his niche is around other people. You understand? His niche is around other people and interviewing other people, but also interviewing himself as well, just like Danny Milivojevic. So he does what Danny Milivojevic does, but he also interviews other people. But I make sure that you understand this, that I do more of Danny Milivojevic than he does of Evan Carmichael. You understand? So Evan Carmichael is a niche, but I do more teachings than him. You understand? But he goes out doing more than me by interviewing other people. You understand? So we have different brands and different things we got going. But you have to realize that I've got nothing against anybody, but you have to realize that you have to find something you're good at. You understand? You have to find what you are good at. So some people don't have time, you understand? And you have to realize that because they don't have time, they have to create time in their life. So the thing is that's why I don't have kids. I don't have kids because I'm not successful. I mean, let's just put it out there. I'm not successful yet. You understand? I am successful to some degree, but I'm not successful to have a kid yet. You understand? Some people out there have kids at 24, like my grandfather. I promise you, he was ready for success back then to have a kid at that time. You understand? But other people have had kids at 13, 15, 16, 17. I promise you can just imagine what that is. I mean, imagine your daughter at 13 years of age having a kid with a 27-year-old. I mean, that's screwed up, isn't it? You understand? But the thing is that it happens in life, and you have to realize that you have to do something about it. You understand? So you have to realize that every single day, for example, you have to stand for something. You understand? You have to find your way. You have to find that passion that you need to do. You understand? So many people go different ways in life. So for example, some of my friends from the past are doing makeup and beauty, and they do it excellently. I promise they do it excellently because they're focusing on that. You understand? They're focusing on that part of their career, and they're making money on it, and everything's going good for them in that. But of course, they want to be more successful. Of course, they want to create their own cosmetics. I'm pretty sure they want to create their own business around something around being the number one hairstylist of the world or something like that. You understand? But some people around my friends from the past, I'm pretty sure all they're doing is 9 to 5 work. Pretty sure they're just trying to make money so that they can have a house, for example. So that they can have a house, so that they can feed their wife and kids, and so that they can just live that kind of lifestyle. Yes, and that's all they want to do. I promise you, that's their passion. I mean, you have to understand, but you can do more than that. You understand? You can do more than that. You have to realize you don't have to go and keep up with the Joneses. You understand? This means that, for example, what I'm talking about is many people try to get into debt to buy a car so that they can impress other people about their stuff, or so that they can buy a house and say to other people, hey, I have a house, so that they can flaunt their success to other people like that. You understand? But you have to realize that Jesus Christ says, don't own anything of this world. You understand? So what does this mean? I promise you, did Jesus Christ ever have a car? I promise you, he never had a car. I promise you, did Jesus Christ ever have a house? I promise you, he never had a house. You understand? I promise you, he never owned a house. I promise you, he never owned a car. You understand? But his body is a house. I promise you, his car is his body. You understand? So you have to realize that many people out there are trying to own things. I promise you, they're trying to own laptops. I promise you, they own laptops, but they do nothing with it. Apparently, they're trying to own phones out there and get the newest phones and get the newest gadgets, but they're doing nothing with it. Apparently, and why they're doing nothing with it? Because they're not trying to make use of that technology to help other people. Instead, they're doing it for selfish reasons. You understand? And what does this mean? It means that they're just trying to help themselves and not other people. You understand? So the thing is that with me and what I've struggled with the most in life is helping other people. I help other people more than I help myself. You understand? And that's what I've been struggling with. You understand? So you have to realize that I've been putting other people first and I've been lacking in my integrity about myself and my life. You understand? And that's where I need to start improving. You understand? So what I mean is that, for example, when I say I'm vegan, okay, and then I start eating pepperoni pizza. So it doesn't go. It doesn't. I've been lacking in my word. I've been lacking in who I am in terms of who I was before. You understand? Because before, when I said I'm vegan, and that's it. I promise you, nothing is going to stop me from being vegan. You understand? But then I stopped myself. You understand? And then you have to realize that now, these days, it's much more how I'm much more able to be a vegan now. I have much more information about it. I'm much more ready to do it. You understand? I'm much more able to push myself to great heights every single day. I'm able to get forward and really, really help my life to succeed. But that's the thing about life. You have to realize that many people don't have the mentality to go on reading for 1 hour. Yes, and they don't. Apparently, it's not that they don't like to read. Apparently, it's more that they lack the ability to start reading. Yes, and they lack the ability to start to read more and more and more. Yes, and to push themselves to grow. So, what have I been doing today? I promise you, this is what my day looks like in the most recent 24 hours. Okay, so I woke up. I started doing quotes. I made a track. I made a music track. I also went to Toastmasters. I made another track. I uploaded it. I uploaded everything to internet. I uploaded everything to YouTube. I uploaded to Spotify, and that's how my day looks. But hey, it looks. I'm pretty sure you have to realize. And then I went to also write more quotes down. I transcribed over 450 quotes today into a Word document, for example. And you have to realize that it's nice and easy to say it, but then it does consume your time. You have to realize that when you make a music track, it takes anywhere from 2 hours to 8 hours, and even sometimes 3 days to make one track. In a sense, so right now, when I make a track, it takes me at least 2 to 7 hours to make one music track. By the way I'm going, you understand? And I make it decent. I make it sound decent. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I make it sound decent. You understand? I make it sound at least 5 out of 10. So if you haven't listened to my music, I promise you. So you can always search me up on Spotify. You can search me up on my YouTube account, and you can go through all my videos in terms of all my music videos and stuff. And you can even see my 2016 album and how that was going. Back in 2016, I uploaded everything to YouTube. And then you can see in 2020, I started my music album again. And I uploaded everything from 2020. And then you can see my 2021 album and all the songs I made in 2021. And then you can see my 2022 album and all the songs I made in 2022. Yes, and so that's something I do on the side on my YouTube account only. But now I started to post my most recent music. So I've just, in the past 2 weeks, all I've been doing is music production and life coaching. Apparently, if you want to know really what I've been doing, it's just that. Apparently, that's all I do. I'm a music producer and a life coach. Apparently, that's my niche. I have 2 niches. I have 2 businesses. I have my music production business, and then I have my life coaching business. You understand? So my quotes, I can say when I produce quotes, for example, when I transcribe my quotes, apparently that's me life coaching, but that's me somewhere along the lines of having done so already, and now I uploaded everything online, and then I downloaded it again into my laptop so that I can transcribe the quotes into a Word document. Yes, and so for example, I have an application on my phone and I can write quotes on it. So what I do is I write quotes on my phone in terms of my phone's application, and then I upload all the quotes into my Mega Drive, and then I download it later on in a better stage of life. I download it to my laptop, and then I open it up and I start transcribing those quotes to a Word document so that I can post ebooks on the website of Amazon.com. So you can find all my books that I've ever written in my life. I've written over 22 books in my lifetime. I'm just 30 years of age. I have written over 22 books, and I'm an author of 22 books and more. But the thing is that I started to do quotes at 25. I started to write quotes at 25, and 5 years later, I have 36,000 quotes. You understand? 5 years later, I have 36,000 quotes. That's how much I've been growing, and that's how much I've been doing life coaching around words. You understand? In the past 5 years, just around quotes. I'm not talking about videos and audio programs that I've been doing. I promise you, my YouTube channel in the past 2 years, you have to understand how much uploading I've done. You have to understand that how much work I put into my YouTube channel. You have to understand that each of my videos has a description on YouTube, and you have to realize that each of my videos has @Danny Milivojevic Instagram on the title of my videos, and each of my videos on YouTube has a photo of the thumbnail. My thumbnail photo on every single YouTube video is a photo of myself. In a sense, so imagine that. I promise you, those photos I post on my Instagram feed, in terms of on my Instagram feed and on my YouTube thumbnail images. So when you click on my video on YouTube, you'll see a photo of me before you even click on it. You understand? I did those photos all around Australia, for example, and I also kept on going. I kept on branding myself, you understand, because I am my niche, I am my business, you understand? So that's why I want to inspire people like that. But that's a separate business, you understand? That's something different. I have my fashion business, but that's something on the side. That's just promoting my face, you understand? So you have to realize that if you want to get somewhere in life, you have to realize that you have to do something. So you have to understand, I do music production, life coaching, and fashion modeling. And I do a lot of writing, you understand? I like to write on my time off. I like to make a lot of content, you understand? And you have to realize that since I made from 25 to 30 years of age, I made 36,000 quotes. I also made another 1,500 hours of videos of music production and also life coaching on my YouTube channel. You understand? 1,500 hours. So you have to realize that if you really, let's say, read an hour a day from me on YouTube, okay, so 365 days is 1 year. So imagine how many years you have to watch me for 1 hour every single day. So at least you have to watch me for at least 5 years, 4 to 5 years, to just to catch up to my content on YouTube. You understand? So that's how much hours I put into it. You understand? So that's a lot of work. That's a lot of uploading to do. You have to understand that now these days I have a lot to do. I have a lot of work to do, and I'm not even in my most fruitful years. I'm not even in my most productive years. You have to understand that I'm still 30 years of age, but they say that at 40 to 60 is your most productive years of your life. You understand? But imagine how much more content I can produce over the next 10 years at this rate. You understand? At this rate, if I upload 1 hour a day, every single day to YouTube, and I keep it going, and I just keep uploading, I promise you, no matter what, I promise you somebody out there is going to be inspired by something I said or something I done in life. And that's my job done. You understand? I promise you, my job is now to promote myself more and to market my music more and to market my social media even more now. And to keep going and to try go the freeway as much as possible, but to try to actually get somewhere with my career. You understand? And I have to do that for myself. I have to actually see how I can market myself. I have to see how I can market myself better and get around people much more and be able to really promote myself in a better way now. Yes, and so you have to realize now, every single day, try to actually do better for yourself. Try to understand that you need to grow. You need to understand how much content I put into this video, for example. I realized it's much more how you understand it's 54 minutes long, and I've been just laying down and talking. You understand? And I find that audio programs are like that. You're able to lay down in the nighttime. I have the lights off right now. You understand? I have the lights off in my room right now, and I'm just talking. You understand? So where this message goes, I promise you it's going to go on the internet somewhere. I promise you someone's going to see it. And guess what? I promise you people are going to be moved by it. I promise you other people might even not listen to it. I promise you other people might not even like it. I promise you the thing is it's out there and it's going to help someone, and that's the main thing. You understand? So every single day you have to realize you have to do the most content. You understand? You have to go and really push those. You have to really push your information forward. You have to push the person you are every single day, and you have to push every single day anything about yourself out there into the world. You understand? You have to really expose yourself. You have to expose yourself every single day so that you can live a better life.